Hello, welcome to the Industrial and Systems Engineering Engineering Showcase. We're happy to spend some time with you all this evening. So thank you for choosing to learn a little bit more about our department. We're excited to share with you what we love about ISE and a little bit about the undergraduate program here at Virginia Tech. Before we jump into specifics about our department, we're going to watch a really nice video that kind of helps describe the wonderful opportunities in ISE and that industrial engineers can do. So this will be about an 8-minute video, and it's a TEDx talk, so that's kind of cool. And then what we'll do after the video is switch to chatting specifically about the Industrial and Systems Engineering program at Virginia Tech. So at that point, 2 undergraduate students will be joining us to help talk about the program and share their experiences as ISE students. So let's get started with a video.
What's common between Pokemon Go, Disney Ride, and trauma care? It is an industrial and systems engineer. Today, I'm going to show you a small peek into the world of industrial and systems engineering. But before I dive into my talk, I'm going to be using the acronyms ISEs a lot because I'm an engineer, so I'm used to using acronyms, right, out of habit. ISEs stand for Industrial and Systems Engineering. Growing up, my dad always raised me by saying that I should be an engineer, as he never got to finish his engineering degree because of financial constraints. And when you hear the word engineering, you probably don't associate it with words like fun, exciting, engaging, etc., right? It's probably more words like mathy, number crunching, boring. I was of that opinion too. I thought engineering was very heavy and definitely not fun until I got introduced to ISE by my dad, who was in supply chain and logistics in a manufacturing company. I was just fascinated to learn that ISE was about humanizing technology and had applications in everyday life. This motivated me to pursue my master's and PhD in ISE in the US. Have you ever wondered how the characters in Pokemon Go show up in augmented reality? Well, my team has worked on looking at enabling the technology for how augmented reality characters shows up in a certain way in a certain time. When working on this project, I realized that people get very excited to see in augmented reality when you show the right information at the right place at the right time. So we looked at how we can enable these characters to show up in a certain way based on the user location and user preference. So user could place a character in one location and have another user pick up that character based on his preference. As an ISE, I have to think about how user experience is a very important factor in designing systems. Now, isn't this a common living room scene now, where everybody is accessing education through computers? When I was working for Intel several years back, we looked at how kids in India use Classmate PC, which is Intel's sensor-enhanced laptop for access to education. Intel's worldwide impact of Classmate PC was to provide access to education in emerging countries for K-12 education. We found that kids tend to keep their laptops on their bare skin, and this can actually burn them because the thermal limits on these computers need to be much cooler than the standard temperatures, which is about 95 to 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So as an ISE, I have to think about how to translate these user requirements into the product requirements. Don't we all get excited to go to Disney? It could be the rides, it can be the stay, it could be the thrill of meeting the characters, right? Will you be surprised if I tell you there is an ISE behind making this experience magical for you? Disney actually employs ISEs to design systems to bring the magical story of Disney to life. Disney parks have this specific brand called Imagineering, where they employ ISEs to design systems for a variety of roles such as ride simulations, statistics, guest flow, and even quality control. Imagine washing 240,000 pounds of laundry every day, or 30,000 costumes. Or how about transporting 200,000 of guests every day with just 260 buses? All of those operational efficiencies are actually managed by an ISE so that you can have an enjoyable and an attractive experience. Now, doesn't this feel like a roller coaster ride? From a cheery picture of Disney, I jumped right into trauma. So this is a project that we worked on looking at how to train pre-hospital trauma care so that we can improve healthcare for improving patient safety. So in this project, we looked at how we can use live, virtual, and constructive environments to create simulations with the live agents and the constructive environments to improve healthcare. Imagine if the EMT could actually send your vitals to the hospital even before you reach the hospital, so that the doctors can take care and make an action plan even before you reach the hospital, so that you can have literally life-changing decisions. We work to develop mobile applications where doctors can view the vitals at a glance using wearable computing and can create these action plans so that you get better care. As ISEs, we work in healthcare industry to look at process improvement, patient safety, and planning. In today's world, people use technology like never before for social media, checking emails, scheduling, supply chain logistics. The list is endless. Will you be surprised if I tell you that from where a jug of milk needs to be placed to when to order your next groceries are all handled by an ISE? Yes, blame the ISE for the extra bag of chips you didn't need or the gum packet that you picked on your way out of a store. We are at TEDx Dayton here today, which stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And ISEs are at the center of it. ISE encompasses this broad area of applications, and ISEs design systems to integrate human and technology to make people feel connected and have an enjoyable experience. My dad inspired me to think beyond traditional engineering and to look at things from a different perspective, such as applications in industrial and systems engineering. We need a makeover to get people to think about engineering and how engineering is actually fun. No matter where you go and what you do, there is an ISE making sure that you go through your grocery store more efficiently or make your online purchases with a snap of a finger. Thank you.
Hopefully you were able to kind of take away from what Dr. Ganapathy was saying, where ISEs are just so broad in what they can do and how they can use their skills in the world. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that next. So now I'd like to introduce the two students who are ISE ambassadors who will be joining us today. They're going to join our webinar now. Hello, hello. So let me get our slides up. So my name is Maggie Johnson, and I am one of the undergraduate, I'm not doing great with the technology today. I am one of the undergraduate academic advisors in the ISE department. I've been in the department for about 3 years now, and before that I finished my master's in higher education at Virginia Tech too, so I'm a real Hokie. Max, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Max. I'm a senior in industrial systems engineering here at Tech, and I'm also the co-coordinator for ISE Ambassadors, which is one of the groups that we have at Tech that a lot of ISEs can participate in.
And Stephen.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Stephen Travers. I'm the future co-coordinator for ISE Ambassadors, and yes, Max already said that's an organization you can get involved in. So I'm excited to be here today. And if you have any questions, please, please, please ask them, because that's what we're here for. So I'll pass it off to Max, I believe.
Okay. All right. So first off, what is ISE? So ISE is the design and improvement of complex systems of people, materials, information, equipment, and energy, which things that were kind of touched on in the video we just watched were things like modeling and improving queuing systems at an amusement park, optimizing manufacturing processes for equipment manufacturers, implementing mathematical models to create schedules for sports teams like the NFL. So each of these examples falls into one of the 4 key areas of ISE, which are manufacturing, operations research, human factors and ergonomics, and management systems. So to touch on each of them, manufacturing is the design and improvement of facilities and their operations. So this can be things like facility layout, production planning and scheduling, and quality control. Operations research is the application of mathematical models to help make decisions. So this is vehicle routing, flight scheduling, facility location, and other kind of scheduling and routing problems. So companies like the NFL will use this to schedule their games, to minimize travel. UPS will use it to determine optimal routes along a path in a neighborhood or in an area, things like that. Human factors and ergonomics is the design improvement of products and systems that fit human needs, things like cognitive and physical interaction. So anything from how your phone is designed to where different buttons are located in the UI. So the back button is in the top left corner. It kind of symbolizes like going back. It wouldn't be in the top right corner, things like that. And then management systems is the design improvement of systems to manage people and make decisions. So it's many things from operations management, planning, and forecasting. So at Virginia Tech, ISC students will take classes and gain valuable experience in all 4 areas. So they start with general introductory classes in your fall and spring semester of sophomore year. And then once you get past those, you can take different classes in all 4 fields with the option to expand upon just the required courses seen here into other electives and extracurricular courses and clubs. So there's a lot of great options that we have in our program to kind of let you drill down to different areas and problems that you're interested in. And so a little bit more about what the undergraduate picture of our department looks like. We have 634 undergraduate students, and out of them, 33% are women, 14% come from underrepresented groups, 18% are international students, 7% are transfer students, and 9% are first-generation students. So an ISE student at Tech gets a breadth of different backgrounds, experiences, and are exposed to many different points of view among their classmates, and it really helps kind of create like a full picture of just the world around us here at Virginia Tech. Now I'll pass it off to Stephen to talk more about our program.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, so more about our program. What are the students doing while they're in ISE? So 83% are actually go on an internship or have an internship or some type of co-op. 14% of those are actually, 14% of students actually go to an international internship, which is pretty cool. I haven't done that, but I envy those that have. 21% go abroad or some other small international experience, so that's pretty fun. 43% have a minor, so 14% those minors are businesses, 14% go into the business minor, 13% are the green engineering minor, and then 18% go into some other minor. So 29% participate in an undergraduate research. So I don't actually do this, but I have a lot of friends that do. So for example, of undergraduate research, human factors is one of the 4 areas of ISE, and I have a professor that does a lot of human factors work. So that could be, for example, looking at the layout of the buttons in your car and helping them make the most sense, and also easy to use so you're not distracted while driving. And you can do research in that, but that's by no means, you're not even limited to that. There's so many options of undergraduate research, which is really, really exciting. And we are a research one institution, so there's a lot of research to be had. 19% volunteer for ISE, so the students love giving back to the major they're in, as well as just the college or university. So you'll see them be tour guides or just go back and do something for the school, whether it be service or some type of giving back, which is really great to see. And then 42% join an organization with ISE. So as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of organizations within ISE that you can join, and 42% of students take advantage of that. So on to the next slide. Following graduation, what are our students doing? So 84% go on to start a full-time job, and within ISE, there's different aspects. 26% of those first jobs are consulting, 13% are manufacturing, 13% logistics distribution, 9% banking, and then 3% for those other three, government, healthcare, and military, and then 34% are in some other aspect, which is pretty exciting because within ISE, you can go in and think you're going to do this one area or different area, and then you could go off and do something totally different, which ISE gives you the option to do that. And then 11% of students go and attend graduate school, and then 5% undecided, so that could be a gap year or trying to figure out what they're doing for the rest of their life, which I kind of feel on a personal level. And a gap year sounds really nice. So, and $70,000 is our median starting salary, which is super awesome and impressive. And I'm excited to start making money after college, personally. So why ISE? Krishna is actually my friend. I'll actually read what she wrote. I thought it was really neat and kind of hit home. So she said, I love ISE because it emphasizes the idea that engineers are creative problem solvers and that almost any challenge can be approached with an engineering mindset. The ISE Department at Virginia Tech sets us up for countless opportunities, including ones I had never even thought were possible for engineers. And that's from my friend Krishna. So I think it's really true. You go into engineering, you don't really know. I didn't know much about what engineering was, and now I'm actually taking a co-op with the company, and I'm learning. It's in manufacturing. I'm learning how facility layouts, and I never thought I'd do that, but it's so fun, and there's just a lot of opportunities to find what you really like to do with ISE. So the program. So what makes up our program? So there's the curriculum, of course. We have amazing faculty advisors, and honestly, the students make the major what it is. The student body is just super supportive, and really, I don't know. I'd say it's one of the best student bodies of any major out there, but it's really one of the only majors I've ever known. So I gotta say, from the two majors I've been in, it's the best. So curriculum, minors, like I said earlier, there's a lot of minors to go. That's up to you. If you wanna like have a specific little focus, you can. Which is what a minor is for. And then undergraduate research, I touched on that earlier. And then senior design. So senior design is pretty cool. And I think probably other institutions do this as well. But within ISE, we do, for senior design, you're given a project and you work with like a specific company, usually, that gives you a project. And you often have to go to the company and you're given a problem and you're asked to solve the problem. And it can be anything from facility layout, human factors. It could be all areas of ISE. And it really gives you a real world problem to solve, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, opportunities. So there's those student organizations that we mentioned earlier, international experiences, and just lots of job opportunities. You can go out and almost work for anyone as an ISE major because we focus on saving money and eliminating waste. And a lot of companies love that. So pretty exciting. And also, just worth noting, there's also $160,000 in merit and need-based scholarships that ISE gives out to its students.
Thank you, Stephen and Max.
Yeah.
So we have our first question, which is, I'll direct this to Max first, and then Stephen, you can follow up later. Is there any hands-on learning?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like mentioned earlier, manufacturing is one part of ISE, and we have a class in that track called Manufacturing Processes Lab, which is like you're in a lab and you make things, just manufacturing. So you weld things, you can cast things from molten iron, and then you get to like kind of like whittle down to a product that we get to make. And so that's one example of hands-on learning. And I think that class is actually still in person the past year with COVID, just because it's such an important part of like the manufacturing and just the in general ISE experience. And then outside of that, there are a lot of other classes that do have kind of within engineering, like general engineering and ISE, just kind of learning about different concepts. Like in general engineering, we have like make a tower, kind of see compete against teams and see which team can make like the best tower based on like different physical aspects and the physics of it all. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for hands-on learning throughout the ISE curriculum. And if that, Stephen, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I second that. I love manufacturing processes lab. There's one aspect you learn how to do an assembly line, and you are part of the assembly line, and then you're also the one grading the assembly line. And they purposefully set some of the assembly line up for failure to help you learn. Like, oh, this is what a bottleneck is, and you might not know what that is, but you learn while you're in ISE. But it's really sometimes it's just a very very hands-on learning major, and you also learn just from talking to students. And say you learn this concept in class about layout of buttons in a car, and then you go get in your car and you're just learning, even though you're not intending on learning. You're like, oh, that probably is why they put this button here, and you're like, and you're learning all the time with Virginia Tech, which is pretty exciting. So that's all I know.
And like Stephen mentioned earlier, the undergraduate research opportunities is a great way to get hands-on experience. So, as Stephen mentioned, they're across the board in terms of which areas of ISE they fall in. So a lot of research is in the human factors area. We have one faculty member who has an exoskeleton that she's using to understand safety in the workplace, and like when workers have to lift heavy boxes, how they can offload some of that weight. That's a great hands-on learning experience. Some of our other faculty, like Stephen mentioned, are working on cars and the dashboard. So there's half of a Mini Cooper in one of our labs. That's really cool, and that's a hands-on way to get involved. Senior design is also a good hands-on experience. Your outcome might not be tangible, but it's you're working directly with the client. So, Max, do you want to talk about your current project in senior design?
Yeah, I would love to. So my project, I work for work with a company called Flex Metrics based in Roanoke, Virginia, which is about 40 minutes north of Tech. They are kind of a consulting company for a manufacturing line. So they implement different machine learning models for the manufacturing lines to make their optimize the speed at which the line runs, the temperature at which, like if the product requires some kind of heat application, what the best temperature for that is. So we're working with them to kind of create a machine learning model, or like an AI model that will predict the optimal throughput based on the different kind of operator speeds and other factors that have gone into the assembly line. So we're working with different companies like Revlon and Red Solo Cup and 5 Star Notebooks to kind of optimize their processes with a operations research and machine learning model.
Thanks. That sounds so cool. I love hearing about all the different senior design projects. Okay, we have another question. And Stephen, I'm going to send this one to you first, and then we'll go to Max. So how did you decide what kind of engineering you wanted to major in?
Thank you, Maggie. I feel a little targeted here, but no, I
you
feel
have
like
a wonderful experience to share.
So that's a great question, Megan. I'm glad you asked that because, to be honest, I didn't know what type of engineering I wanted to do freshman year, and I chose to actually go into mechanical. And mechanical is like a great major. I didn't actually like anything about systems or cars or engines or anything about closed systems, and it took me a couple semesters, probably more than I want to admit, but to realize that, oh my gosh, the stuff that I do in ISE, my favorite class in mechanical was an ISE class, which was manufacturing processes lab, and it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, my favorite class was a different major, so I should maybe consider switching. Asking people is probably the best way to figure out what you want to do, and talking to people about their experiences with their major. Because as funny as it is, even at my co-op now, I talk to mechanical engineers that end up doing a lot more industrial engineering work. That's in the manufacturing facility, of course, but industrial engineering is very applicable to everything. Again, it's about saving money and eliminating waste at a core. It's a very good skill to have, and a very, very applicable major, and highly recommend. But that's how I chose mine. It took me a little trial and error. I figured out what I didn't like, and then I found something I do like, and now here I am. So, Max, do you want to add how you chose ISE?
Yeah, so my experience is somewhat unique because my mom graduated from ISE at Virginia Tech. So I've known growing up a lot about the program and kind of the different aspects of it. But I'd always known about it, but I didn't necessarily know that's what I wanted to do when I came into engineering at Tech. And so freshman year, I worked at one of the dining halls on campus, and I just like Steven said with like the buttons in your car, it's like why this is here, why this is here. The dining hall was like so just inefficient, like different things, like people cross paths to like take food somewhere to deliver it, or like you'd work kind of backwards, like towards the back of like the shop instead of working towards the front, towards like the customer to like give them the food. So you'd have to like work it backwards and then carry it across to like deliver it and just stuff like that. And I kind of like this process is difficult and cumbersome. And I went to an ISE info session just like this, and they were kind of talking about process improvement and the different ways that like different examples. And like I was like, that's exactly kind of just like what I've noticed like in the real world. And it's funny because like while I worked there, they eventually did like renovate the dining hall to kind of make it like they brought in ISEs to fix the process. So kind of that was like my real world like exposure and like aha moment was like seeing the inefficiency in the real world. And I was like, I want to be like a person that can make this better.
Thank you
I also,
both.
can I add something?
Mhm.
Just another application to what ISE is. So I don't know if any of you out there have ever run into a door that you were confused if you were supposed to push or pull on it. That's a very ISE problem, and one of the biggest actually out there is just how to, it's called affordances, making something easy to use and without actually having to think about it or have to read like, oh, this is a push or pull door. Doors can be kind of confusing, so it's always nice when they go both directions. But that's just a problem. So if you've ever actually run into a door and it's like stop, and you're like, oh my gosh, why is this a pull door? It's probably not your fault. It's probably the door's fault. So don't blame her.
I'd also like to add that in your first year at Virginia Tech, you'll get a lot of good opportunities to find and discover the different engineering majors that the college has to offer. So, like Steven said, talk to your friends. Like Max said, look at the world around you and what interests you, and then attend those info sessions your first year because you'll get a lot of good, hopefully face-to-face experience talking with students and staff in each department. So let's see. I have no coding experience yet. Do you think I should take a class on the side over the summer? This person's a high school junior. What do you all think?
I can take that, or at least start it off. So I didn't have any coding experience either when I came to tech. And on the if you were to look up like the different like classes that are required, you take either a Python class or you can kind of pick a different language freshman year, which is very introductory and will teach you everything you need to know. It doesn't hurt, obviously, to kind of start familiarizing yourself with it early, but I personally, I had no coding experience and hadn't taken anything before coming to tech, and I got along just fine and learned pretty well, like along the way.
I agree 100%. Coding is very applicable and definitely a very important skill to have, and would probably help in terms of understanding classes, and also you can do a lot if you can code. But no, by no means feel like super pressured to do that right now because there's a lot of opportunities to take classes at Virginia Tech within coding.
So we do have a great question in the chat. So do you have job fairs for internships? So Max, I see you're unmuted. Would you want to start with that answer?
Yeah, I'll go ahead with that. So just all of engineering in the fall has this event called Engineering Expo where hundreds of companies, it's a multiple day thing. Unfortunately, it's virtual this year, but I'm assuming, with hopefully it'll be coming back in its normal setting soon. But just hundreds of companies from just anywhere you can think of, like Google, just literally any company that hires engineers comes to tech and sets up a little table there, and you can go up and talk to them. And it's where most people, I would say, end up getting their jobs, and that's available to all engineering students, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then in the spring, they kind of have like a second one, which is a little bit smaller, but it's the same thing. It's just another career fair. So there's a lot of, and then there's a lot of job fairs. And outside of just engineering, there's a construction job fair and a business job fair, which also have like overlapping companies that hire ISEs as well. So there's always something going on or some kind of way that you can talk to someone about a job. And almost every day, the advisors and other faculty will send out just job opportunities have been passed to them, and they'll send them out to all of the ISE undergrads, and you can apply jobs there too. So there's always just opportunity to talk to someone or get a job or apply for a job, which is really awesome.
Yeah, going off that really quickly. If you remember the 34% that go off and do other things that involve ISE, so you can talk to really any company you want because everyone needs to save money, and that's kind of what we focus on in ISEs, how to eliminate waste and save money. So I just second that big time. Job fairs are awesome. Honestly, I companies are always looking for ISEs, and I found a UPS internship my first semester I was in ISE. So it's definitely doable. And then I'm now working at a co-op, for a different company. So the experience, the internship co-op experience, highly recommend. You saw that a lot of students do participate in at least one experience, if not more. They allow you to kind of see what's out there, and just it's very valuable, and I highly recommend.
And this semester, we had an ISE specific career fair for the first time too. So that was a really exciting development that we hope will continue in the future. What's nice about our curriculum is that there is a great deal of flexibility in it, where you can pursue part-time internships if you want. You could do a co-op, which is what Stephen is doing now. And a co-op is during the academic year. So you might take time off of classes being your primary focus to work for a semester. And that's a great way to get experience. But most of our students do the summer internships. So you can start, as soon as the summer of your first year, or, maybe you'll wait until sophomore or junior years when you have a few more ISE classes, to base your experience on. It's really up to you, but there's a great deal of flexibility there. I'm wondering did either of you have a chance to study abroad or do a study abroad trip? Not yet? Okay, maybe in the
Sadly not,
future.
no.
Yeah. I didn't do study abroad in my undergrad years either, and I really wish I did. But what's nice about the ISE program, if anyone out there listening is interested in study abroad, that we have a great program set up in Brazil. That's a direct exchange program for a full semester. Or there are a lot of opportunities to go on short-term trips, like Stephen mentioned earlier. So either over summer or over winter break, maybe for a week over spring break. There's a lot of wonderful opportunities. And again, the ISE department is really supportive of our students doing those kind of trips, experiential learning. The scholarships we have available can be used towards study abroad. There are study abroad specific scholarships through the Global Education Office. So there's a lot of great opportunities if anyone out there is interested in study abroad. Is it possible to get a master's in 5 years? The answer is yes, it is. We have the accelerated program where you can start to take some of your classes can double count in your senior year for both your bachelor's degree and your master's degree. So you get started on your master's before you even finish your undergraduate degree. Then you just have about a year left to finish that master's. So great question. Great. I think that's our time. Thank you all for attending our webinar today. We hope you choose Virginia Tech, and we hope you choose the Industrial and Systems Engineering Department. Stay in touch with us if you ever have any questions or want to chat again. Bye.